When your goals are screaming one thing, but your habits are whispering another, you are always going to feel off until you get into alignment. Hi ladies, welcome back to the Feminine Universe. I am so happy to have you here. If you've been working on becoming the best version of yourself, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially, but sometimes it feels like you're running in place, this might be the video that finally connects the dots for you. We recently talked about how you can tell you're leveling up before it's very obvious, about how to spot those internal changes that mean the external changes are on the way. But today, we're talking about 5 habits that women often don't even realize might be holding them back. Things that might be keeping you from seeing the fruits of your labor. And the reason these specific habits we're going to talk about are so tricky is because they don't always feel wrong in the moment. They're not obvious things like procrastination and inconsistency, but over time, they can still delay your progress or stop your growth completely. This isn't about guilt or shame, it's simply about awareness. To change something, you have to know that it exists. And the earlier you can spot any of these habits, the sooner you'll be able to make a shift and continue on a faster, smoother, and more peaceful journey. So if you're ready to make sure you're not getting in your own way, let's get started. Habit number 1 that could be holding you back is you care too much what people think. One of the biggest invisible chains women carry is worrying about what people think. What they'll say, how they'll react, who's going to judge you. So maybe that causes you to play small. You hold back, you dim your light so they don't call you extra. Or maybe you'll go broke trying to impress them, whether it's buying things on credit to flex online, throwing parties to impress instead of a dinner with 5 real friends, or participating in lavish group trips and other things out of your budget to keep up with people who won't spare you $1 when you're in debt. Maybe you lower your standards in dating because you don't want to be called picky, not realizing the people who guilt you for being picky today will be the same people saying with a straight face that you should have chosen better when you settle for that bum who downgrades your entire life and leaves you on struggle street. No matter how it manifests, when you care too much about what people think, you are basically letting people who don't even truly care about you dictate your choices. You're living to impress, avoid judgment, or maintain a perception at the expense of your goals, values, and peace. You'll make yourself uncomfortable, or you'll skip out on starting something amazing just because you're scared of the side comments. But the truth is, you will be judged or criticized by certain types of people no matter what you do. So you might as well be judged for choosing yourself and creating a life that you're ecstatic about. Ultimately, here's how I think about it. This might be a little harsh to hear, but my mom taught me this very early. There are only a handful of people in this world who care about you. I mean, truly care about you. People who would lose sleep and not be able to eat if something happened to you. People who would be on the first plane out to come see about you. Who would carry a hole in their heart for life if they were to lose you. Those are the people whose opinions matter. Everyone else is just background noise. If this is something you struggle with and you want a full video on how to care less about what people think, write "stop caring" in the comments because I can definitely say a lot about that. Shout out to my mom for this one. Habit number 2 holding a lot of women back. Your goals and your habits don't align. To put it simply, what you want and what you do don't match. You say you want to be fit, you want to be wealthy, you want a peaceful, drama-free life. But if someone looked at your daily habits, they'd have no idea that those are goals of yours. And I say that with love, not judgment. We've all done it. I've shared in one of my productivity videos that is how I realign myself when I personally get off track. I look at my choices and I ask myself, do you want this right now or not? And if so, girl, you better start moving like you want it. That's an actual conversation I have with myself all the time, okay? So if you dream big but show up small, If you talk about beautiful long-term goals but make ugly short-term decisions, this one is for you. You want to be fit? What are you eating every day? How are you moving your body? Want to be wealthy, save money, or get out of debt? What are you spending on right now? How are you saving? What are you doing to bring in additional income? You want better friendships? Are you setting healthy boundaries? Are you putting in effort to keep the friendship going? Or are you treating people like they're disposable? You want a high quality relationship, but do you entertain low quality characters? The bottom line is your daily habits are either pulling you toward what you say you want or pulling you away from it. So ask yourself, is my behavior aligned with my ambition? Is what I do aligned with what I say I want? Because if not, no amount of vision boards and journaling is going to close that gap. The only thing that's going to fix it is getting in alignment. When you start taking actions that line up with the goals you want to achieve. Start small, don't overwhelm yourself, but take that action. Habit 3 that could be holding you back is staying in the wrong environment. Many women are not stuck because they're lazy or unmotivated or untalented. You actually might be stuck because you're trying to grow in a place that's not built for your growth, or you're in a place that you've outgrown. I've said this before, you can't grow a lush garden in the Sahara Desert. You can use the best tools and water it as often as you like, but the garden is not the problem. The tools are not the problem. The problem is the environment. Some people keep planting in sand instead of soil and wonder why nothing is blooming. You could have the best habits, great routines, and smart strategies, but if you're trying to bloom in bad soil, it won't work. The right steps in the wrong environment don't work. You might be absolutely destined to make 6 figures, but it won't happen at that job. You might be absolutely meant to be a wife, but not to that man. You might be meant to thrive, but not in that environment. And while we should always be willing to self-reflect and ask, what could I be doing better? When you've already done your part, be careful not to let that turn into, how can I keep forcing myself to bloom in a place that doesn't nourish me? Sometimes the bravest and smartest thing you can do is leave the wrong room so you can find the right room. Sometimes you have to realize that it might be time to stop trying to force yourself to fit in and realize it's time to step out. Habit number 4 that I know for a fact is holding many women back. You don't gatekeep. So somewhere along the way, the internet decided that gatekeeping is bad. I believe gatekeeping is absolutely necessary. Now, there are definitely certain things that you can and should put a good sis onto. You want to know where I got my shoes, what perfume I'm wearing, tips to negotiate your salary, or how to captivate a room? I've got you. I don't think it's necessary to gatekeep that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the real stuff, the things that matter, your mental health, your money, your relationships, your location, your next move, gatekeeping is a necessity. Not everyone should know how much money you make. Not everyone should have access to your home where you lay your head. Not everyone should know about your trauma, especially before proving themselves. Imagine you might be sharing all your weaknesses with someone who wants to do you harm, or sharing your success and future business plans with someone who wants to see you fail. Many people see gatekeeping as elitist, and of course some people use it that way, but really the point should be keeping people out of certain spaces until they can show respect and appreciation for those spaces. Here's how I recently explained it to a few people that made it click. If I hand a 2-year-old a $160 lipstick and they smear it all over the walls like a cheap crayon, who's really to blame? Me or the 2-year-old? Most people would say me, because I did not do my part to protect what was valuable to me from someone who wasn't yet mature enough to understand its value. Some things you're going to have to put on a higher shelf, and some things you're going to have to put under lock and key. But overall, you should not give valuable things to people who don't have the maturity or the character to handle them as such. This includes access to you, your thoughts, your body, your resources, and so on. Gatekeeping isn't always about being elitist. It's about realizing some people don't yet have the maturity to handle certain things the way they should be handled, and others only want access to a space in order to burn it down. Gatekeeping is about guarding what's precious until someone shows you they're trustworthy and that they have good intentions for what you're giving them access to. And lastly, habit number 5 that has women in a chokehold is you take advice from the wrong people. We have gotten way too comfortable as a society letting unqualified, unhealed, or misaligned people speak into our lives. While this information age gives us access to wonderful information regarding finance, health, relationships, and so on, we also live in a time where literally anyone can get on a microphone, hop on the internet, and give advice, whether they know what they're talking about or not, whether they've lived it or not, and whether they've ever actually helped anyone achieve anything or not. And some of the worst decisions you can make will be based on taking advice from certain types of people, like people who don't care about you or the effects of their words on people's lives, but just say the most controversial things for the most clicks and coins. People who will only tell you what you want to hear for those same clicks and coins. People who are projecting their pain onto you. They see the world through a broken lens, sometimes without realizing it. Or honestly, advice from people who are not doing anything wrong, but it's just that their advice is not for you, whether it's because you're not in the same position or you're not coming from the same starting point as them. It's like taking hair care advice or skincare advice from someone who has a completely different hair texture or skin type than yours. They're telling you their truth and what has actually worked for them, but because you and them are so different, what they use that works for them will not work for you. And on the sadder end, you have women out here ending healthy relationships because they listen to someone who's bitter because they got cheated on, or women cutting off family who loves them dearly over misunderstandings because they listened to someone who hasn't spoken to their family in 10 years. Certain situations need a scalpel, not a chainsaw. And as they say, misery loves company. So you have to also realize certain people are miserable and they are looking for other people to make miserable so they can have company. I always say this to my friends and people that I mentor. Bad advice is like botched surgery. You don't realize how bad it is until the damage is already done, and it's always very difficult to reverse. So be very cautious about taking anyone's word as gospel. Now, as someone who gives advice, I don't want to be self-serving in this moment at all. This has nothing to do with me. I don't have to be the one you take advice from. I won't be for everyone, and I would never want to be anyone's only source of advice. One of the smartest things you can do for yourself is compare advice from several sources. It's like getting a second opinion in a medical situation. You should always double check. But I'm just saying, make sure whoever you choose to listen to, whether that's in person, online, or in a podcast, make sure they care about you or they care about people and are not just self-serving. Make sure they know what they're talking about and that they can answer questions without getting defensive and they can back up their points. And make sure they understand nuance. Different things work for different people coming from different places and different experiences. Overall, be very picky about who gets to lead you or advise you. Your decisions, your actions, and your future could depend on it. I wanted to bring some of this to your attention today because growth always requires awareness. And I see so many women putting in the work and doing so many things right, but some of these things creep in and make it difficult to see real progress. If any of these 5 habits sound familiar, it doesn't make you a failure. It makes you human. The key is being able to recognize it and making the shift sooner rather than later. I will say a little more on this in our next Touch Base Tuesday episode. And we'll also go a little bit deeper on some of this in our live stream session coming up Saturday, October 4th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So put that on your calendar, leave me any questions you have, or you can ask me when we get together live. I hope to see you there. Until then, use this awareness to your advantage, take action, track your progress, and check in with yourself regularly. You've got this. Until next time, ladies, stay feminine, stay focused, and have fun.